Samir, how are you?
I'm very good.
I appreciate your time. I'm calling in from sunny Mallorca here, which I'm very, very happy and grateful for. I know the weather back in Ireland and the UK isn't the best, so good to be sitting in some sun. Where are you currently based?
Yes, I'm currently in Zurich, or near Zurich, I should say, and it's also sunny, so I'm also lucky.
Nice. Okay. Well, look, the purpose of this conversation and this chat is to really just understand and hear from you around your journey with content and posting on content. The reason why I reached out to you to have this chat is you're one of a couple of people who I feel are very, very strong in what they do in terms of content posting and building a brand and trust and credibility. And I think you've done an amazing job. And I've really, really enjoyed your journey. And I think because we, worked at Salesforce at the same time, I've been following you since then, and I've really seen that journey that you've been on. And I think what I love about your content is the transparency that you give. And personally, I think transparency builds credibility and it builds trust. What I also really enjoy is the element of humor that you add with your content, and I think that's really obvious. And so that's a quick introduction, and so I appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to be here.
Brilliant. So as always, we'll start the chat with just an introduction to yourself and obviously more importantly your company. Like, what is it that you do, and then maybe a bit about yourself and where you're from and things like that.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Semir. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called SalesMotion. We help deliver instant account intelligence to sales reps so they can sell more effectively rather than spend time browsing the internet to find relevant information on their accounts. It's been a wild ride, and I've started about 8 months ago by now. In my previous lives, I've done different things, always around sales or software in the software industry. I was at Salesforce, like you've mentioned as well, a couple of years back. I helped build Clary in Europe over 4 years, which is a VC-backed company out of the Bay Area. So I've been in that world of software and sales and building companies for many years, and now building my own thing, which is SalesMotion. Yeah.
Brilliant. I like the cohesiveness around your background and what you're doing today. So super interesting. So I like to start this with just, why do you post content on LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I stumbled a bit into it in a way. I think it's a great platform. I think when I was at Salesforce, which is now 5-6 years ago, I did not post really much. Every now and then something, sometimes about Salesforce, sometimes just career updates, nothing too crazy. Then I joined Clary in 2020, and I leveraged LinkedIn especially to just drive awareness of what we are, who we are, what we're doing, because I wanted to help build Clary. We had nobody in Europe, so we built it truly from scratch. We were just 4 people starting at the same time building it, and we just need to get the brand out there. We didn't have massive marketing budgets. Again, nobody knew us, but I did have people in my network from Salesforce, from people I sold to while at Salesforce. I thought, well, if I just post on LinkedIn, they'll see that I'm at this company called Clary. I'll tell them what we do, what pain we solve, and hopefully they'll see it, and it'll be part of our marketing engine. And over time, as we did quite well with the business, I started hiring as well. And LinkedIn became really a key source for me to find the best candidates as well, because really hard hiring in 21, 22, because again, lots of companies were growing like crazy, and differentiating was very hard. Everybody paid good salaries, everybody had roughly the same kind of infrastructure, but people would trust people, and somehow I could create a level of warmth with people in sales engineering, in pre-sales, in sales, and in customer success. And they said, "No, I know this Semir person, and they work at this Clary company, and they seem to be having fun. They seem to be doing exciting work." And so it was a great tool to help hire. And so that's kind of how I discovered that power. And today in SalesMotion, it's my #1 way of building pipeline and progressing pipeline as well, and identifying new relevant customers, driving my inbound. And I much more consciously use it now as a key tool for me to amplify what we want to achieve with SalesMotion. So that's been the kind of the stumbling into it to how I use it today.
Brilliant. How, I suppose, when you were with Clary, was it a discussion that you had, with the business to say, hey, this is something that we should do, or was it just like an idea that you had in your head and you said, hey, let me see where this goes, or was it an actual strategy that you said we're going to do this, or it just sort of built up over time?
Yeah, there was no real strategy. I just started doing it more and more. And obviously at Clary, had a bunch of people in the sales tech space, were a bunch of people that already were quite active. And Cal Coleman was pretty active on LinkedIn, obviously has a gigantic following. So I was kind of inspired a bit by that. There were others and other companies doing similar things. And I thought, well, I'll do my version of it. And I'll see how I can, again, drive pipeline for candidates that we can hire, connect with our customers better. And so I just started doing it, and it worked, and I just kept doing it. Obviously got a bit better over time, and a bit more conscious about the efforts I put in, and that's kind of how it went. And then over time, people just really appreciated me leaning in and being proactive.
Yeah, it's super, because you sort of explained about that journey. I remember clearly that transition from, because we were connected back in the Salesforce days as well, and I remember when you joined Clary, and I could see how when you were being so open about what you were doing and when you were hiring, like I remember going onto the website and taking a look. So I've seen that really, really clear, and that's why I always advocate and push to the founders that I'm working with, especially when they're super early on. It's that whole mentality of like building public, to bring people along the journey, because that's what people want to see. They want to see the ins and outs. They want to see what it's been like for you. So yeah, super interesting. So I know you touched a bit around your journey with content posting, but I suppose like two sides to this question, like how has it evolved? Because like you mentioned there around like the strategy, and at Clary it wasn't a huge idea where you sat down and you decided to do it, but how did that change going into SalesMotion? Like, did you actually consciously put a plan in place? Is sort of the first side of the question, but then also like what challenges have you faced with the journey of content posting?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think I'm probably nowhere near as professional as I would like to be about it, but I will get more professional. I'll say it now, so to hold myself accountable. I think it's much more conscious now since SalesMotion, for sure. And I mean, I post pretty regularly. I'll build the habit. I think I don't have like a content plan where I say Monday, Tuesday. I don't have that, but I have a habit, which is like I just need to get something out there. And then I'm thinking, what did I do last week, this week? What did I hear? What happened? And how does that kind of fit into something that relates to what I want to achieve in my audience? Them learning more about SalesMotion, either about the product or what we're building, how we're building it. And so it's pretty natural by now to keep writing stuff on LinkedIn and then sharing. What I think has got much more professionalized for me is I look at every like, I look at every comment, I look at every follower, every profile visitor, and I do reach out to many of them as well. Say, hey, thanks for the like on the post, appreciate it. If you ever want to learn more about SalesMotion, just let me know. So things like that, very soft, not hard, like not a hard sell, but very soft sell, because those people, they click follow for a reason. I engage with them. That's nice as well. And then they keep seeing my posts. And then oftentimes when I then do reach out to maybe pitch something, because I see that their company started hiring, and it's key for them to have good account plans and do account research on their accounts, do enterprise hiring, maybe enterprise rep hiring. I say, hey, look, we've been connected for a while. You liked on my post. I see now you guys are hiring in that area. I mean, wouldn't it be interesting to kind of look at SalesMotion to help you accelerate that kind of account research you need to do to sell more on value in your company? And I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds interesting enough. And there's some level of trust we've built maybe 6 or 12 months ago. And that gets you really far, I think. But it's not something you see instantly, right? Yeah. It's like you build slowly over months, over years even, and then you get the rewards down the line. And that's sort of what I see pay off really big time, especially as you get a bit more professional around who you're reaching out to and how you're engaging them with your network.
That's interesting. I think you raise a couple of good points there. I think going back to, in terms of what you're posting, it's important to obviously know who your audience is and you're relating yourself to the audience. So a lot of the startups and the founders that I work with, the question is like, oh, I'm not really sure what to post. It's like, think about what your audience cares about. Think about what value and problems your solution solves for, and talk about there. But also, what I really like is like what you mentioned there around last week. What did I do last week? And like just sharing that. I had an amazing meeting with this company. I went on to this event and I met this person. We discussed this. So it's just like using things that you're doing on a daily basis as motivation and inspiration to post.
Exactly. That's exactly. And it's always, I mean, I think you do have to be conscious about what you want to achieve with it, but there's so many ways to frame it. If you're, I mean, in my case, selling sales software and building a startup, and I think these are the two anchors, and there's like sub topics around both of these that are relevant. And many people that are in sales are helping build startups. They join as a VP of sales at a Series B company or a Series A company, and they want to know, how can I build this company in the best way possible? So they learn about the sales related posts as well as the sort of the startup related posts and the challenges we face. And I think I'm always quite common. I don't post about my holidays or some random book I've read, which was maybe very interesting. I learned a ton, but I don't do that as much. But I do always think, okay, what's the angle here to help drive awareness for SalesMotion, or somehow help us kind of grow the company while still, being true to authentic and not just advertising, because again, then people don't read it either.
100%. That's something I've noticed with yourself and the other founders that I'm going to be speaking with, is no one ever hard sells. You can do it in a very, very subtle way, but I think that comes with the repetition of posting and getting into that habit of posting, as you said.
Totally.
What I actually really like what you said there as well is that instant gratification, or the instant expectation of put this post out, why isn't nobody responding? It could be 6 to 12 months before that person is ready to buy, and then you come into your mind and say, hey, I actually remember Semir posted about this tool that he uses. Let's reach out to him and have a conversation. And I think coming from the days working at Salesforce, everything is like, it's now.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that transition for you was interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And I think you just got to accept kind of how that's a bit different, right? And it's just one of multiple kind of pillars of your go-to-market, right? I mean, you shouldn't necessarily rely solely on LinkedIn or solely on one. I mean, you just shouldn't do anything on its own, just do blog posts or just do cold calls. It's always a mix of things that helps. I think LinkedIn definitely plays a big part in this. Also because, again, over time, I think I've built a pretty decent following. I mean, it's not huge, right? It's not like hundreds of thousands of people, but it's always kind of the same people that have seen me at Salesforce, at Clary, and now I sell to these kind of stakeholders. So somebody who was an AE at Salesforce 5, 6, 7 years ago might be a VP of sales now somewhere, or might be a founder, or might be somebody else that I want to partner with. And I've seen that countless times. I've seen, I think, from Clary, there's 5 or 6 people who become customers because they went to different companies now, and or VPs or CROs. I've seen a couple of Salesforce people who've gone on to different companies and become leaders of sorts, or even just, again, stayed AEs but championed me into the company. And that's really, really powerful. And that's because they've seen me and said, oh, this sounds interesting. And there's some level of trust and there's some familiarity. And I'm not just a random person for them. So it's not that cold. You can really warm up.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a bit of warmish outbound, if you want. If I reach out to connections I've not talked to in 3-4 years, and many will say, "Oh yeah, I saw your posts."
Yeah. They
never left a like, never left a comment. It's like, "Oh, I've been following your journey, Semir. It's so exciting. Yes, I'll help you get a meeting. Let's see where it goes." It's like, "Thank you so much. I do really appreciate it." I've never seen them, but they've seen my posts clearly, and that goes a long way. That's not to be underestimated.
Absolutely brilliant. So we've talked about the journey. We've talked about a couple of the motivations, but what I like to ask, or what I want to know, is in terms of the impact. I remember a couple of months ago at this stage, I think you posted a funny screenshot of like all the meetings that you had gotten from HubSpot off a couple of posts that you posted. But what's is there one like, what's the biggest impact that you feel that you've gotten from content posting? Or is there one story that comes to mind where you say, hey, I wouldn't have been here, I wouldn't have achieved this if I didn't post that, for example?
Yeah, I think it's just about kind of doing it regularly. Sometimes you don't know where you hit a home run or not on these posts. I mean, of course, when you kind of start a new job, like lots of people see that. I think LinkedIn amplifies that as well. But I think it's just keep the consistency, because you can't force the success necessarily with posts and the reach you get on some of these. Sometimes, again, you get 1,000 people seeing a post. Sometimes have some random post, 10,000 people see it, or 100,000 people see it. So the advice is, I think, just keep going. And in terms of, for me, big impact, the posts, but also the comments on other people's posts. I think there was one post by by a VP of sales in North America, and she was like asking something related to researching accounts, understanding your customers better. I was like, yeah, that's what we do. That's our business. And I left a comment, which was a bit different from the other comments, which was like, hey, we do this, reach out to us. Or, hey, we do this, I sent you a DM. And I was like, look, we work in this area. We're early days. We don't know it all yet, but it sounds like we could maybe help you. We're bootstrapped, like no BS. I'll just give you a quick demo. I can send you a quick video and you decide. And there were like 50, 60 likes. And then I booked like 20, 30 meetings of that. And I think 3 or 4 of them converted as well. And that's a comment. That's a comment. That's not a post. That's a comment that I left. And I think don't underestimate that. I think the comments somehow get you a bit into a different audience if you want. If you're leaving a comment with somebody else, and if it's a really, good or thoughtful comment that resonates, can help really drive pipeline as well. So that's I think the other thing. It's not just posting. It's about also just in terms of just generally how are you contributing to the platform, and big way to do that is comments.
That's a fantastic point, and probably something that I didn't really have top of mind either. I think I personally tried to comment on posts here and there, but the fact that you've highlighted, it's not just about, posting and hoping for the best. It's like, what else are you doing? How are you engaging with other people? Like, what advice are you giving on other posts? How are you liking and things like that? So I really, really like that answer. Brilliant.
Yeah, cool.
So we talked about sort of content and go-to-market strategy, but I suppose, and you mentioned there, you don't really worry too much about, the likes per se, but I suppose how do you focus on any metrics with your posts, and if so, what are they, and why do you think they're important?
LinkedIn doesn't give you that much in terms of analytics anyway, right? It kind of tells you who saw the post, like in terms of how many people saw the posts, how many liked it, and how many commented. So I look at that and I try and think, why did this work and why did something else not work, to improve the next post maybe. Because typically, especially if I put in a lot of effort and it doesn't resonate as much, I'm thinking like, oh, what was that? And typically something around the hook, where I think, oh, maybe this hook just didn't resonate, or it was something around that. So I do iterate, use the analytics a bit, but also not too much. Again, it's also about quality and not quantity, and it's the consistency as well. So if you get, just 10, 20 likes on a couple of posts, it's okay. And then another one, you get like 50 or 100 or more. That's okay, but still, a couple of thousand people who see it. And if it's the right people that see it, and I do look kind of who's seeing the post, you can like buckets, and most of them for me are founders or sales leaders, and that's the right bucket for me. If it was all SDRs, it'd be like, yeah, that's okay, but they're not going to buy my software. They don't have the budget. They're not necessarily the right audience. So I'm happy with the quality over the quantity so far. And I do measure and try to do more of what works and less of what doesn't work. But it's always a bit of a hit and miss still with LinkedIn. It's just very kind of nail the algorithm and see what works best.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. And then just for your own, are you following a founder-led sales approach, or do you have a SDR or anything like that, or what's your sort of setup?
How I sell?
No, just in terms of your team today.
My SalesMotion.
Yeah.
Yes, my famous team at SalesMotion is my CTO and I.
Nice.
We're a 2-people company. Again, we're building SalesMotion to help sales reps sell more, get all the information they need, but we're doing it in a way that's really lean and really taking advantage of a lot of the tools that we have available. Me, for sales, I use SalesMotion as well. I use other tools. My CTO uses a lot of AI-based tools as well. So I think we can get really far, just the 2 of us. Today we have about 34 customers, some of them really big ones, which is fantastic. And there's no limit to our growth, and there's no skill that we don't necessarily have. Some of us are better at some things than others, but we don't lack anything. So we're pushing it really hard to just keep going as far as we can by the 2 of us. And when the time comes, we'll hire.
Nice. We've discussed sort of tips and ideas and tricks, but is there any other sort of maybe top 3 or even just one tip that if a founder is listening to this and they're just struggling a bit to actually get going, or that they say that they don't have time to do it, like what advice do you give, or would you give?
Yeah, first of all, I would say I think LinkedIn can work really well for many types of founders. Some industries, they are more on LinkedIn than others. Like, again, tech people, professional services people, they're a lot on LinkedIn. I'm not sure about manufacturing leaders if they're much on LinkedIn. So I think about that. But even then, if not many are on there, and not many are posting about that, you can be a big fish in a small pond as well. So I think that's just one thing, so consider that. And then the second thing is just get started and iterate. Just like with the starter with your product, if you don't think your product is ugly when you ship it, you've shipped too late. And same goes for posts. If you think you have to post perfectly from day one, you're just kind of waiting for too long. Just post something, get into the habit of it, and iterate on feedback from the likes or from your own thoughts about the posts, and just do it. Just really do it. Don't worry about a big complex content plan with scheduling tools. I don't use anything. I just write. I use Apple Notes sometimes kind of to draft some posts, and then I just copy them and then post them. I don't even use LinkedIn scheduling. Nothing. It's bare bones, just my thoughts, and that goes to LinkedIn then.
I think that's a great insight that you can give startups, because I think a lot of founders will be like, oh, maybe I should buy this tool, I need to buy this course and listen to this person. So that's
just do it.
Just do it. I think that's the tagline of this video is just do it.
Yeah, I think so too, and hopefully many will see this and think, hey, what's the worst that can happen? Nobody likes your post. Well, you're a founder. You probably face a lot of rejection already anyway. What's that bit more of rejection in there? And if it works, well, fantastic. It helps you drive your business forward, which is what you want anyway. So there's really not much you can lose by doing it, I think.
Amazing. Well, Semir, we'll leave it at that. I really appreciate your time. Really happy to speak with you, and look forward to continuing your journey. I'll link your profile and things so people can check you out as well.
Fantastic. It has been a pleasure, Stephen. Thank you.